Hi Gauri, welcome to this episode of Vaartaalaap. We have recently completed our quarter century. We are now 25 videos old. It's great to have you as our guest today. How are you doing?
First of all, congratulations, Aman, for completing 25 videos. I'm doing great. It's a hot and a sunny day in Delhi, and I'm eager to get started with this conversation.
Sure. So for my listeners, Gauri has more than 17 plus years of work experience, 8 plus years in strategic transformation, consultation, and coaching for agile innovation and organization culture change. She has tried multiple hats from SAP consulting to project management to coaching with diverse organizations globally, be it IBM, Ford, Siemens, SAP Labs, General Motors, Coca-Cola, and many more. Anything that you wish to add to your profile, Gauri?
I think you said a lot about me.
Okay. So it's been a long career journey. You started as a SAP consultant. There was project management in between. Now you have become a coach, doing design thinking, agile transformation, and I believe digital transformation is somewhere embedded in that as well. How has the journey been for you? How did these transitions happen in your career?
So I was always, looking forward to learn something new because there was always this time used to come in my career that what's the next thing I can look forward to.
Yeah.
So that helped me to switch, and also, fortunately, I've always been given some opportunity or the other one in that area as well. Sometimes the areas I was able to think of and decide, that was very rare. Most of the time, it was planned by the super force.
Okay. So, I mean, you have been involved into design thinking of late for several years now. How do you see design thinking supplementing things like lean or agile transformation at organizations?
Uh, so, my experience in these 8 years, especially, I started with intensely experiencing design thinking with IDEO,
Okay.
and while I was working with Ford Motor Company, and then I got fascinated by the thinking behind this approach,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
looked at exploring this more in diverse areas, from government organizations to social to financial sector to many other varied sectors, and helped others solve the challenges, and challenges like profitability, employee engagement, to service to. So uh, so in this past 8 years, what I've seen is that uh, be it any of the transformation, be it agile or lean, or when it comes to innovation,
Yeah.
uh, uh, I have seen and observed that design thinking uh, has a very strong potential to be kept at the foundation of any transformation.
Okay.
And the reason I say is because what happens is that most of the time we start by solving a wrong problem,
Okay.
and design thinking helps in identifying the right problem.
Okay.
It helps us to connect with the consumer or the human who's facing the problem
Okay.
more deeply and empathetically, and that's
Mhm.
where you generate meaningful insights. And these meaningful insights help you to build, test those innovative solutions with your customer. Now,
Okay.
these are the solutions which you build and test with your, and refine it iteratively and incrementally.
Hmm.
And these are the solutions to the most desirable, feasible, and vibrant problems which you have identified during your empathizing phase.
Hmm.
So, so this deep phase not only helps an organization to solve those challenges,
Hmm.
but if you see, this also helps them to become successful and have a competitive edge. So
Okay.
I would say design thinking is more of, it gives you more of an exhilarating experience than just supplementing. And when it comes to lean,
Mhm.
lean is more about, eliminating waste,
Yes.
process
Yeah.
optimization,
Right.
as you know. So this, whereas if you see in design thinking, let me give you an example here of a tool which we use called customer journey mapping.
Okay.
Now, this tool helps you to go through the entire arc of consumer experience.
Okay.
And what happens in this is you're not only able to identify the right problems,
Mhm.
but in the entire arc of the consumer experience of your with respect to your product or service, you're also able to identify where are the wastes,
Okay.
where are the gaps, where are the issues. So if you see, it helps you to build the right thing. And when it comes to agile, while you are prototyping or while you're building a potential solution in design thinking phase, that's the time agile helps you to build the thing right.
Okay.
And
You mentioned use the word empathy. Now, if I talk about the old age order wherein a product was created by marketing inputs, they also used to go to a consumer and identify his needs. How different is design thinking in that way? Because I was empathizing with the consumer in the past as well. What is new that design thinking is bringing in terms of empathy?
yeah, so that's a very good question, Aman. And so yes, we have been using a lot of techniques to ask questions to our consumers
Yeah.
by filling a survey, or doing a more of a group discussion and
Mhm.
gathering, or asking them to give feedback.
Right.
But this is beyond all this. This is where you are stepping out of your own shoes and experiencing what your customer is experiencing.
Hmm.
So this is basically where you're building a connection, not only logically but emotionally as well,
Okay.
where you feel what your consumer is feeling.
Hmm.
You understand their hopes, their aspirations, their issues,
Hmm.
and very importantly, in this, using those powerful techniques of design thinking, you're able to identify the latent needs, the
Okay.
hidden needs. Because
Okay.
often, things I may not share with you, because I'm not all the time focused on things which you may want me to share, or
Hmm.
sometimes even I don't know what I need. So those
Right.
are the things which often my behavior would be some kind of a signal for you to understand. And so such kind of deep, as I shared earlier also, the deep empathy exploration helps you not only to identify the problem, but understand the consumer more and get
Okay.
connected with your consumer.
So you mentioned consumer journey mapping, and that's a way of knowing what the consumer is sensing, feeling, or thinking across its life cycle of finding a product or a solution to a product. I think that's what you were referring to.
Yes, so there are many more of them. One is the empathy map.
Right.
That's something where, and even before that, we create personas
Yeah.
about the consumer,
Right.
so that we understand the consumer more. And then, it's like a layer of onion. The first
Hmm.
layer is more of a persona. The second layer is more
Yeah.
of the empathy map. The third layer is where you go into the entire customer journey mapping. And
Okay.
it all depends on the kind of challenges you have. There are various techniques which we
Hmm.
apply based on the kind of challenge which you are
Hmm.
exploring. And often the challenge also, you would also see that that would not be the real challenge which we have to start, begin to solve over a period of time.
Sure. So you also mentioned IDEO somewhere, and IDEO has become synonymous with in the past with consumer journey mapping, empathy maps, user experience, and those kind of things. They have become also famous with design thinking, as you say. They have become connoisseurs of design thinking.
Yeah, IDEO is
Yeah.
IDEO basically the entire consulting organization, and this organization is into many sectors,
Right.
and this has been founded by Dr. David Kelly. He's a Stanford professor and chairman of Design School, and one of the
Okay.
pioneers of design thinking.
Okay.
So they do, yes, a lot of they do provide services globally into this
Design.
sector to solve
Okay.
challenges.
Okay.
Beside that, they have their own courses, which runs more on how do you actually enable others to become problem
Mhm.
solvers?
Okay. So, in terms of design thinking, what kind of organizations do you see are picking this up as a philosophy to do their whatever transformation they are trying to do? Are they more innovation based companies or verticals that are picking up design thinking, or are these new age startups which are picking up design thinking? What has been your experience?
Uh, so yes, initially I had when I had started, I had explored more of product companies
Okay,
which have strongly benefited using design thinking,
sure.
like Google and Facebook and many more organizations.
Hmm.
But it is also evident that there are organizations who are not only product but service providers, and also companies which are like startups also are leveraging. So I would say design thinking is something which is not only applied to conglomerates or corporates. It has been applied to social sector, government, and it has been even applied to your good living and
Okay.
your issues, life issues. Let me give you one example here, and that is that a couple of years ago I got this understanding with the IDEO, and that is that uh, there is this Stanford has this course, and the most popular course is not computer science, but it is
Okay.
designing your life.
Oh my God.
And there are
Okay.
a lot of deep and there are a lot of deep techniques which are applied from design thinking. And the other thing is that the kind of audience they they have over there is from 18 years, that is college going, to senior aged people.
Yeah.
And the question they have in their mind is, what do I do with the rest of my life? I'm sure
Yeah.
which everyone gets across
Yeah.
in their life.
Yeah.
So design thinking, to answer your question, it is for anyone who wants to solve any challenges.
Okay. So, in terms of product or innovation companies, can you share any examples wherein there was an impact in terms of solving a consumer problem, or there was an impact in terms of improving the bottom line or top line?
Yeah, so I can give one example, which
So,
is from my own recent experience. There are many of them.
okay,
And the one I can also talk about other startup kind of an example as well.
sure.
So the first one is this is about a financial organization, and this company is into digital payments.
Okay,
And now this company has a consumer base which is ever growing,
okay,
extremely diverse, very massive.
okay,
And this consumer base is both there nationally as well as in global presence is there.
okay,
And when I say the consumer base, let me give more emphasis on the kind of consumer base they have. So
okay.
these are like people like us,
Mm-hmm.
then people from financial organizations to corporates to banks and to semi-illiterates to illiterates to different kinds of people. And now here in this kind of a consumer base, which is so diverse,
Yeah,
you know, so everybody when it comes to paying something digitally, making a payment digitally, everybody has some common expectation that it should be uh, seamless, it should be
sure.
fast, it should be safe, secure.
Yeah,
uh, and now this team wanted to go beyond that to understand what the challenges were.
mm-hmm.
And now this team had applied design thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of consumers they have, as I shared earlier also, is the very diverse. Now in this case, everybody has a very different perception of the user experience also.
Yeah,
So yeah, and the other thing is everybody's problem is different as well.
yeah,
So it's like there are people who know how to complain, and there
mm-hmm.
are people who don't know how to complain if they are stuck with any payments.
Yeah,
So so when I started coaching them, the first thing I had asked them is the kind of team formation.
mm-hmm.
To begin with was not only within the organization having the product team,
Mhm.
That is the product managers, the developers, the testers, but also including people who are interacting with the customers day in and day out, or the potential customers, marketing, sales, and then customer support, customer service, and also including people from banks.
Okay.
And and uh, the reason is that when they do it together, you
Mhm.
know, they understand more of the pain points and issues, and that's the time they are able to build something which is more desirable from others as well.
Okay.
So what happened in this is that the when they started with their empathy phase,
Mhm.
uh, now they had to literally go into the field and interview their consumers,
Yeah.
and some of the consumers were with them in the room. As I said,
Mhm.
banks from different banks. Also, there were people who had come to solve payment transaction issues,
Okay.
and there were people who were not there, because you can't include everybody
Yeah.
while you're working on the challenges.
Yeah.
So that's the so I'm talking about those people whom they had to go and interview and
Mhm.
do the entire arc of consumer experience, that
Okay.
is the customer journey mapping.
Yeah.
Now that's the time, the kind of moments of truth which had come up were, one of them was that they had so many challenges which had come, which were
Mhm.
not specifically related to the challenge which they had started, but more
Mhm.
of, user experience, more
Yeah.
about what to do when the payment gets stuck.
Yeah.
How do we have one place where we know all the products which they were actually working on as a challenge, the digital payment products, how
Yeah.
all of them, if any of them have any payment issues, or everybody can come to one place and have a seamless dispute resolution happening.
Okay.
So the entire shift was on the experience of the consumer experience issues.
Okay.
Now, and it could be, there were many of them were technical, there were many of them were functional.
Mhm.
So so uh, so the kind of aha moments I remember they had shared while solving these challenges was, one was after they had they said that they've never seen this kind of a cross organization collaboration happening.
Okay.
Entire ecosystem is involved there to
Yeah.
solve the consumer issues. And one of the reasons is that because you're sitting with even your competitors, is that because you have a vested interest in the problem.
Right.
And the other is that when these kind of phases of design thinking helped you to see many further problems,
Mhm.
which could be the potential business opportunities for you.
Yeah.
So so that's where the team wanted to see, now which one should we look, and which one should we prioritize and work together as a team,
Right.
and then work on it, uh, ideate, build, and
Mhm.
then incrementally test it with the consumer and further refine it. And
Okay.
not only they solve the problem using this approach, there was another aha moment. They said that the kind of learning they were having in this
Mhm.
kind of working sessions was very something which they have never felt before as well.
Okay.
And they said that the kind of cross-functional learning they are taking away is now they have become experts for other products as well, because they understand so deeply,
Yeah.
and now they're so much connected with their consumer.
Yeah.
So if you see, this entire example is where there is so much diverse consumer base. You
Yeah.
have an audience, or the participants are from very diverse backgrounds,
Mhm.
and one of the reasons we did all this is not only to solve one product issue,
Yeah.
but explored 5 products simultaneously,
Yeah.
all to see what kind of challenges which we can resolve today and make a wow experience for the consumer.
So the problem they were solving here, it was more about improving a product, finding a solution towards consumer problems, right?
They started with enhancing the products,
Okay.
and then they shifted to more of consumer experience issues. They wanted to look at only the customer disputes,
Mhm.
but then the entire thing shifted to the experience, what kind of experience the customer is facing. It
Mhm.
could be when they begin the transaction. As I said, it's the whole arc of consumer experience which you're
Yeah.
capturing.
Yeah.
Now the problem shifted to, now which are the problems which are becomes the most burning problems,
Mm-hmm.
because it it gives you the the whole stack of problems.
Yeah.
Now which one becomes the most, which is the
Mm-hmm.
most viable for you, which is the most desirable from the consumer standpoint, and which is the one which you can make it feasible.
Right.
So these are the things which you look at.
So that makes me think, since you talked about a cross-functional team, is bringing so many stakeholders together an opportunity as well as a threat for a philosophy like the design thinking? I mean, bringing so many people together, it's a challenge, and then making them work together, finding a common solution, that's also a challenge. It's also an opportunity as well.
Uh, See, I would say it is more of an opportunity if we think more openly, because
Okay.
it is more about trying to find out where are the gaps and what becomes a business opportunity for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And there could be a time when you're not just thinking very small, you're thinking very big.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the time you're not looking at very small problems to be solved. The problem you're trying to see is, how do I enhance the entire consumer experience?
Okay.
And that's something which gives you more of an interest to bring them. So it is about also generating the interest in your
Yeah.
participants to come forward and be a part of this kind of permission.
Right.
Because, and the other thing is, it should be something which should be common across the this kind of team. Otherwise,
Okay.
it will be it is like you're asking somebody who would not know anything about it.
Sure. So, what are some of the barriers or challenges that you have encountered in terms of applying the design thinking philosophy in any organization that you can refer
Yeah,
to?
sure. And I remember I missed out one thing also about the innovation,
Sure.
the startup thing which you had asked properly.
Okay.
That we'll take it after this
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
Barriers have been many,
Mm-hmm.
Aman. Indeed, if you see any organization which wants to adopt design thinking, it is about, it's basically, you have to entirely shift your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts from there, because everybody is looking for, there's an anxiety for solutions, and we want faster results, and with a very disguised and an under emphasis approach on whether we have captured or covered the unvoiced needs of the consumer. Do we really understand our consumer? Do we really even understand their changing needs? So the question is, or are we in too much in a hurry to launch a product or a solution because of
Yeah.
any business or competitive pressures?
Yeah.
Or do we understand the environment from where the consumer is coming? So
Mm-hmm.
these kind of questions is something which an organization needs to take a pause, reflect upon,
Mm-hmm.
and see that how we can, which are the which way should we go forward with, and how do we balance all this? Would the coaching would help us to prepare our workforce to solve these kind of challenges? And there are many of the barriers which I've seen have been design thinking. Uh, this kind of an approach needs a lot of perseverance. It needs a lot of patience, and above all, it needs courage, because you may quickly adopt an idea, you may build it, but you would find that's not something which the consumer wants, and you would fail very quickly. Then you move to the other one, you act on it, you build it, and finally you do this in an iterative process.
Yeah.
So this also has very important element of moving away from self to others,
Okay.
uh, and truly experiencing, and rather than having your own assumptions that these are, and sitting in one room and preparing a strategy and that this is what the consumer needs. It's actually about going into the field and understanding, because the consumer is changing very fast. So these kind of barriers, or the, I would say, the opportunities, uh, require an organization not only to shift their mindset, but to drive a culture change. And why I say that is that you also need to restructure your organization often when you're solving challenges, and that is an example which I just gave you. to solve the challenges, you would need people from different perceptions, who have different perspectives to come together. And the reason we want the different perspective people to come together is that when you are building the solution, when you're exploring the problem, you're not looking at it too narrow, and you're not making a solution which is very closed solution. It is more of an open solution. It serves the needs of many people, and it is scalable. So it helps you to build something which is even more successful than what we are building today.
So
So
one thing,
that's
sorry to interrupt you. You mentioned the word restructure,
mm.
restructure of an org. So does design thinking involve itself in creating a cross-cultural team permanently, or is it just a temporary motion to solve a consumer problem?
So when I say restructuring, does not mean like you're completely restructuring the organization into that. It
Okay.
depends on the kind of challenges you have. That's
Sure.
the time you bring the team together,
Okay.
and then you give them that space, and they work together.
Yeah.
So it is basically that the organization leaders should give an liberty to
Mhm.
do these kind of things often,
Okay.
and mantle the team this way, then dismantle it and bring. And this way, you're also inculcating a cross-functional learning experience also.
Right. Right.
And also, it is not only helping you get the new consumer insights,
Yeah.
but you're also motivating and inspiring your internal customers as well,
Mhm.
that is your employees as well.
Yeah.
So
So
I remember we talked about the
yeah.
that startup example as well, and
Yes.
the one which comes to my mind is about this Airbnb, when
Okay.
they had started initially.
Okay.
And Airbnb is into hospitality, everybody knows that,
Yeah.
and they are into booking the travelers stay.
Yeah.
And when they initially started, how they apply design thinking is something I wanted to share. Is that what happened is things were not going very well with them, and
Okay.
they wanted to figure out what is not going very well, and they wanted to see from the consumer perspective
Right.
what is not going very well.
Yeah.
And that's when design thinking helped them to know their consumer, understand them, and that's the time they discovered a pattern among the consumers. And what was that is that the kind of understanding they had gathered was that simply these customers were not booking the rooms from their websites. And one of the reasons is that because the pictures were not so clear
Yeah.
and they were not so great, and they realized that they had put down the pictures from just a classified site, or from a very low resolution, just a mobile camera. They had clicked pictures. It was not giving a feeling to the customer for what they were paying for.
Yeah.
They couldn't see anything clearly what they were paying for.
Yeah.
And that led this deep insight led them to go and solve it, inspired them to solve it. And what they did is that they took the high resolution camera and they went to the customer listed properties, and they clicked very professional pictures with very more focus on what the consumer were needing and were looking for. And when they had come back and had replaced those amateur pictures with these high resolution and fulfilling the needs of the consumer pictures, it worked for them.
Oh.
So for the startups, it is like not only when you're beginning the startup, but also where when things are not going well, what is that is not going well is something also which you can get to know from this technique, this approach.
Sure. That reminds me of an instance. It's not related to design thinking, but a story that I heard several years back. It was about a place in Sweden, and what happened was there used to be a lot of traffic in the evening while people were going home. So the local government, approached many companies that they wanted to solve this issue. Somehow, it was leading to a lot of log jams at a particular hour. So they went to IBM and they asked IBM for a solution. The IBM guys gave a recommendation to build a toll gate. They built a toll gate. There was nothing, no real application of any philosophy, any framework. A simple idea: build a toll gate, and that solved the problem. So sometimes it's just realizing from a different perspective as to what can solve a real problem. Something like that, I believe design thinking is also helping to do at various levels, be it corporate, as you said, people solving out issues related to their own lives. I mean, there is a scope for design thinking everywhere.
True. Yeah.
And that brings me to one last question, Gauri. So, design thinking has become very popular. How do you forecast what will happen with design thinking or through design thinking in coming decades?
So, problems would remain.
Okay,
Only the
sure,
thing is that the problems would be different.
sure.
Uh, as I shared, that we are living in this VUCA world, which is very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And I think it would remain a VUCA world
Yeah,
in future as well.
right.
And one thing which would always be there, when we are solving any challenges, would be there that empathy would always be would play a very leading role to understand and gauge the needs and the attention of your consumer and capture those to and turn them into a business opportunity.
Okay.
So, and when it comes to where it can be applied, it has already, as I shared with you, it has already begun to explore. People have been exploring, and so am I, in very diverse areas.
Mhm.
And this would, I think, this would something which people would apply to as many areas as possible. One example I wanted to share is that this comes from that it's not future, but it is happening in the present, is that how it has been applied to emerging technologies like
Okay,
virtual reality or augmented reality.
okay,
And one example I wanted to give was from Google Play.
okay,
And when they wanted to understand, what would virtual reality or augmented reality be of significance to
yeah,
people, uh, they explored this with the IDEO,
okay,
and IDEO had run this exercise for people
mhm,
to capture their desires,
okay,
because everything in design thinking starts with people, you
yeah,
know, and technology is something which helps you to solve and provide those needs or fulfill those needs. So they had got many different kinds of stakeholders, from children from the age of 7 to 12, or then people who are into the working age, then people who are experts from the technologies,
right,
and many more diverse people, just to get to know what is something which they see
yeah,
as the future of these technologies, and how these technologies can help them,
sure,
because it is the other way round, rather than
yeah,
we assuming that this is what virtual reality or augmented reality would do. They
mhm,
shifted the entire exercise and flipped it into what the people need is. And a lot of very different kinds of insights had been generated, and people, children had asked, they had imagined that they would like to travel to Mars with their ice cream in one hand and their Lamborghini with them. Then, apart from that, some of them said that while sitting here where we are, we can. I just want to relax for a while, and I see. I'm able to interact with the hidden layers of information, that is, I'm able to, interact beneath what is there in the sea, with
yeah,
the corals, and hear what is going on, the sound, and not only see but hear that also.
yeah,
And it gives me feeling of that I've transformed from this to
another
where
one,
I wanted.
yeah,
Yeah. So these things. led, and there were many more, and these things led to Google Play to see how they can, fulfill the needs of their consumers, so or potential consumers. So it is not about. So it is about flipping the challenges. So the challenges would remain, as I said. It is about how you would. How would you apply these techniques and many more still to be discovered to solve your challenges.
Sure. I've already started thinking to solve a problem for Vaartaalaap in future. I need to realize what the problem is and then solve it. Maybe use the design thinking approach someday and take your help too. Great, Gauri. Your
Sure.
perspectives have been really great, and I believe our audiences will love to hear some of it. In case I get any queries towards design thinking, I'll be happy to pass them towards you. But thanks for your time today. Great to have you.
Thank you, Aman. It was great interacting with you, and looking forward to any questions you get across, and we'll
Sure.
be happy to answer them.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Stay safe.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye.
You too. Bye.